about right now is I want to work on some of these cool rhythm things that we can do that involve a little bit of that thumb going over the top of the neck. But this is a great way to integrate rhythm into your lead play. And that, I think, is a really important topic to discuss. And, of course, it keeps right along with being aggressive and draws that listener in. So, check it out. We're going to be working, of course, again, as we were before, in our 8th position. And the first thing that I want to think about doing is getting you comfortable with your thumb. Now, this is a bit more unorthodox than I know if you're thinking, but my thumb isn't big enough to get over the top of the neck or over the back of the neck. It absolutely is, I promise. You don't have to do a lot of it, just a little bit of it. But what happens is we're achieving the tone of an octave with this C note and this C note by putting that thumb over the back. Now this one here gets muted out. In this case, it's a little bit muted by my thumb. And it's a little bit muted actually because I try to extend my finger a little beyond what I normally might do to block out that A string and make it so you can't really hear it. And that's always really cool because my right hand motions are going to get pretty grand as I go across the strings or as I play across the guitar. So the first thing we want to try to do is we're going to have these two notes together, and then we're going to strike only these lower 3 strings, and we're going to hammer to the octave. Now with the right hand, just doing a down-up kind of a motion. Try maybe doing 2 downstrokes and an upstroke. Do all downstrokes. Just mix it up a little bit, but try to get some rhythm going between your right and left hand using a very simple hammer-on going to an octave. So you see there, I go to a nice double stop on the G and the B strings in that 8th fret, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to pull down on that the best I can. Again, we're using big strings to get that tone, right? And then we're going to go back to that octave. A lick from the previous section, right? Creeping into some of the rhythm. And we can use all of our double stops to our advantage, and that's going to include, and maybe even a little bit of sliding there, and that's kind of difficult to do. Let's take a look at that all on its own because it's a cool rhythm thing. We're going to take this really nice aggressive double stop. That's a nice sounding lick right there. Very inspired by our man today. Again, really slow. Now I should point out and watch what my thumb does, right? My thumb is nice and low back there, so I could put all the pressure on it and not on this poor finger. I can execute that slide. That's a pull off. Comes back up. Bit of a dynamic range there between, you know, the movement of those hands. So within that, we get a lot of neat things that can happen and a lot of good rhythms that are achieved just from using that simple octave and a couple of double stops as we go into the guitar. Now I like that, and I'm going to play that a little bit differently. Maybe try to mix up my right hand rhythm. We'll start with something like that. Now to get that motion with your wrist, you just kind of loosen it up a little bit. So that's going to give me great for throwing in a little bit more in there. And that, for a rhythm's sake, is pretty nice motion right there, where we rake into that F note, hammering to the G. And to achieve a rake,